So when Joy Reid says
they're voting on race, they're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border, the idea that they can't get whatever job they want, a black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus. At this stage, it isn't about economics.
No, which is why Trump killed the immigration bill.
Correct.
That's why. Because otherwise he can't run against the other and brown people and people who don't look like him, like his supporters, his base of supporters coming across the border and scaring people. And
people aren't upset about unmitigated illegal immigration into the United States because of the color of their skin. Are there some people who are racist in America? Yes. The biggest one in government was Joe Biden up until 5 seconds ago.
Joe Biden.
The reason why black and brown people are locked up in prison at way higher than their population representation is because of Joe Biden and the crime bill. Donald Trump actually let those people out of prison with the STEP Act. So this idea that Joe Biden isn't a racist hasn't been a racist. Or I'm not saying. All I'm saying is, if you're saying someone else is a racist, there's no bigger one than Joe Biden.
Just keep in mind, Joe Biden was against like school busing. That's because he didn't want his boy Hunter
to grow up
racial jungle. A kid that grew up to be a crackhead.
Yes.
He didn't want to be a black kid. Yeah. He probably would have been a poor influence on the inner city black children with his crack, with his habits.
So this is all MSNBC has. Is to make this about race and make this about this is the deplorable speech. These people are deplorable and horrible, and aren't we so much better? Hey, let's get in a Tesla and let's drive down to those southern states and I hope they have a charging station in.
Also, I hate Elon, but I still have a Tesla.
Yeah, right? That's right. Here we go. There's more to this. Watch this.
Killing people or whatever he's threatening out there. I mean, if you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue. I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area.
So why would anybody except the people who live along the Mexican border care about immigration? I don't know. I see a lot of people in Boston, Chicago.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people in New York City, including the Democratic African-American mayor, screaming about illegal immigration into his city. But people in Virginia aren't supposed to care about it. And so they're idiots and assholes and they're deplorables because they bring up a legit. So you're not supposed to vote. So they're not supposed to be upset that Joe Biden has an open border policy that is suppressing wages, taking resources away from Americans, and filling. What is
it was one of the greatest moments in I think it was on The View.
And go ahead.
Kelly Osbourne of the Osbourne family, way back when Trump was talking about building a wall, she goes, "Without illegal immigrants, Trump, who's going to clean your toilets?"
Remember that?
And she said it as like a gotcha. And what's funny is she was right. Her crime was saying the thing that they all know is true, but saying it. She was guilty of like a Trump crime.
Yes, she was guilty of a Trump crime.
She goes, "No, I don't mean it, but I mean it. Well, it's true." That's how you get in trouble with these people, is saying the thing they all know is true, but pretend is not true. We need them to clean our toilets, and you don't like it? Yeah, we can get you for all kinds of cheap labor. So what's the problem?
So look at that. So Rachel Maddow, who lives in Northampton, Massachusetts.
Oh, is it nice? I've never been. Is that why she has JFK Jr. hair?
Is mocking people because they want a rational border policy, and it's an issue that they vote on.
Oh, what are you so scared of? People that we don't keep any track of running amok?
Because I guess there isn't a chance that someone who just came over the border is going to be given her hosting job on MSNBC where she makes $100,000 a day.
Yeah, well, George is getting a little angry because that girl got killed by one of the many dreamers that came through. So it's not theoretical. It actually has happened. Quite a bit.
So this idea that you're dumb because you have concerns.
I'm not against immigration, by the way. I just like them to know who the hell came in. That's
no one is against immigration. I'm against millions and millions and millions of immigrants with absolutely no documentation, no way to track them, and then
how do you track all of us?
And then, but they can
and
track
not immigrants.
and then also where this isn't theoretical. They're closing down community centers in black neighborhoods and putting immigrants in there. They're giving out $51 million a month in credit cards to immigrants. And again, this isn't to demonize the immigrant. This is to demonize the policy that creates these situations. Not only that creates people desperate enough to flee to America, which is our fault. 7 million Venezuelans have left their own country. And where do you think they're coming? Here. Why? Because Trump puts economic sanctions on them. And then Joe Biden leaves the border wide open. And then they're doing it right in your face. They won't take care of the homeless people, but they will give credit cards to immigrants who got here 5 seconds ago. They won't take care of the homeless, which everybody wants taken care of.
That is the craziest to even have to go,
They'll give,
oh, do you hate immigrants? Do you hate the people from your own country on the ground next to you, you
right,
dipshit?
Why
would you ever have to qualify that? There's a blanket of people covering the ground in all directions.
Right in their face, they're doing it. They're giving people debit cards who aren't even citizens. Meanwhile, there's homeless veterans. No, just homeless Americans in general. Children. How many children are homeless in America? And did you know that 40% of people who are homeless in America actually have jobs? That's the thing I forgot to bring up.
Not for long with all the immigrants.
That's the thing I forgot to bring up with Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew has a point about how to deal with the problem dealing with homeless people. But there's a bigger point. He's talking about the people you see, the people who seem like mentally ill.
That's not the deep,
right.
The deep problem you don't
We're not
get
talking
to
about
see.
the people living in their cars, the people and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about. So there's a much bigger problem than just the people you see in the tent who happen to look like they're on meth and are crazy.
Yeah, those are the ones not
and
like
the mentally
together
ill
at all anymore.
Right.
Well, that's shocking to me. There's that many people that are homeless that are like they have a job and live in
Yes.
No one thinks about that. Well, I guess because they're not on the sidewalk in front of you.
So here, I just want to show. So here's the real reason, Joy. So Joy will tell you. Joy will tell you that why are they voting
on race? They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over.
You want to know the real reason why they're voting? They had 2 people on your own channel just 2 days earlier, and they're going to tell you. Here we go.
As a starting point, the problems that rural America has, which are very real and very profound. They have the more problematic education systems. They have poor infrastructure. They've had a lack of economic opportunity. We've seen a lot of manufacturing jobs leave from rural areas. And that kind of left them open to someone like Donald Trump, who would come along and tell them something that was true, but there is a system that has not served them well. And he said,
they're pissed off.
They are pissed off. And they have a reason to be with both parties.
They're pissed off, and they have a reason to be with both parties. But if you listen to Joyanne Reid's brilliant.
They're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges.
No, here's another clip from your same channel. Here it is.
Right? They'd rather channel their rage. I think what a lot of rural white Americans have decided is that their economic fortunes are decided by globalization and, frankly, late-stage capitalism, which is eating up all the mom-and-pop stores and taking away, the extractive industries and coal and farming and so forth. So they might as well vote on their cultural issues. They might as well vote on God, gun, and religion because they feel like neither party is going to deliver any material benefit. They're not going to reverse the closure of rural pharmacies and rural hospitals and rural healthcare treatment facilities, which are now disappearing. Not because of communism and not because of socialism, but because of capitalism, right? Rural pharmacies and hospitals are closing because they're not money makers. And unless they're part of a regional chain, they're disappearing. So Trump comes in and says, let's just hate on cities. Let's just hate on minorities. Let's hate on...
Only took them 10 years to figure that out.
So again, do you see all the problems that are actually in America? MSNBC, it's right on your own channel. They told you all the problems that are right on your channel, but instead of telling Joe Biden and the Democrats to do something about it, You'd rather turn it down now because it's going to be loud. You'd rather do this.
They're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus at this stage. It isn't about economics.
No, which is why Trump killed the immigration bill.
Correct.
That's why. And because otherwise he can't run against the other and brown people and people who don't look like him, like his supporters, his base of supporters coming across the border and scaring people and killing people or whatever he's threatening out there. I mean, if you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue. I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area.
Build a wall. Like, what? I mean, when I was in New Hampshire, people were talking about the northern border as a threat because Trump has indoctrinated people with this.
And what have you indoctrinated people in to ignore this? You know what you have done? You've indoctrinated people to ignore this and pretend that the problems with the country is because your neighbors are racist and a fascist and a Nazi. Instead of this, you could turn it up.
What makes them vulnerable? Oh, well, a lot of that has to do with, as a starting point, the problems that rural America has, which are very real and very profound. They have the more problematic education systems. They have poor infrastructure. They've had a lack of economic opportunity. We've seen a lot of manufacturing jobs leave from rural areas. And that kind of left them open to someone like Donald Trump, who would come along and tell them something that was true, that there is a system that has not served them well. And he said—
They're pissed off.
They are pissed off, and they have some reason to be with both parties.
And I'll just give you one more time.
Right? They'd rather channel their rage. I think what a lot of rural white Americans have decided is that their economic fortunes are decided by globalization and, frankly, late-stage capitalism, which is eating up all the mom-and-pop stores and taking away, you know, the extractive industries and coal and farming and so forth. So they might as well vote on their cultural issues. They might as well vote on God, gun, and religion because they feel like neither party is going to deliver any material benefit. They're not going to reverse the closure of rural pharmacies and rural hospitals and rural healthcare treatment facilities, which are now disappearing, not because of communism and not because of socialism, but because of capitalism, right? Rural pharmacies and hospitals are closing because they're not money makers, and unless they're part of a regional chain, they're disappearing. So Trump comes in and says, let's just hate on cities. Let's just hate on minorities. Let's hate on immigrants. And at least they can deliver on that.
Oh, that one guy is from Media Matters, by the way, and he could figure that out.
So what these people need is this little Trump and all.
Oh,
MAGA strength, Trump and all for Trump derangement syndrome.
Does it? I'm telling you, I have never seen anything cure it yet.
I can't. So this idea that it's Donald Trump wants a civil war, Donald Trump has taken away your democracy, that the people who are MAGA are in a cult. If you what you just watched Joy Reid and those dingbats on MSNBC do just now, that is a cult. They on their own station.
They're voting
on their own station. They were told what the real problem is. On their own network, they were told what their real problem is. And all they can do is mock people who have a legitimate grievance with both political parties. So instead of them coming there and saying, hey, why don't the Democrats actually do something for people? Why is half the country so willing to vote? More than half the country willing to vote for Donald Trump. Why is that the thing? And by the way, them pretending that half the people at MSNBC don't vote Republican is also a joke. You don't think that Donnie Deutsch doesn't vote for all the, remember he admitted
what's the
it.
Big idea, Donnie Deutsch.
They admitted it.
He just had another big idea to scare people about Trump. Remember his, very similar to the one he had not that long ago that we played. He's had that idea again to really scare people about Trump.
That's all they got.
I swear to God, he's on there going, I was thinking about it.
That's all they got is call people racist, call people fascists.
It's called being a grifter. That's what a grifter is. Joy Reid, read her old emails. The way she talked is the way I talk, making fun of stuff.
Right.
That's how she talked.
That's how she talked.
And she lied and said she got hacked. And she doesn't like a very sweet gay couple like this analyzing things
That's
better
right.
than her. She has real phobic things to say.
Okay. So actually, for the editors, that is two separate segments. Remember I said let's keep it together? I was wrong. Those are two. One is Joy Reid tries to cope, And the second one, which we just did, is MSNBC mocks voters for caring about immigration.
Why would they care?
Why would you care about immigration?
What is wrong with you?
Have you driven around the cities in this country? Why would you care?
Why would you care about homelessness? My friend Bill Maher doesn't.
So the idea, hey, I'm all for you giving out a debit card to immigrants seeking asylum in America. Right after you give that debit card to all the homeless people and you give them a place to live. Right after that.
I bet it's cheaper than flying in large numbers of illegal immigrants from airports around the world, which they literally have been doing.
And the idea that, so that's like the idea that, by the way, they have the money. And you know how I know? They just print the money. It's not like taxes pay for shit. And that's going to be the subject of our next segment, by the way. We have Paul coming in, and it's not like they have to raise taxes to pay for stuff. Taxes don't pay for stuff. We have a $34 trillion debt. They're spending $1 trillion every 100 days now.
I like how they always show that.
So there's no connection.
Your kids are going to have to pay for that. Like,
no, they're not.
What? Why?
There's no connection between taxes and and the shit we get to have in our life. There's no connection between.
I don't see any connection anything at all.
There's no connection between the taxes we pay and the government services we give. There's no connection between those. They just print the money. There's no connection between the taxes you pay and how much money they gave to Ukraine, or how much money they're giving to Israel, or how much money they're giving to the 1,000 military bases we have around the world. Hey, come see us live on tour in Los Angeles, Palm Springs, Stockholm, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Berlin, Copenhagen, Oslo, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, right outside Pittsburgh, El Paso, and San Antonio, Texas. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.